Alright guys, welcome to an episode of the 2 Minute Report. I honestly, Scotty, have no idea what episode this is.
I believe it's episode 6, and we stopped recording these around the time that the Hornets decided to stop playing basketball, which, if you remember correctly, was not at the end of the season.
Yeah, it was like around the time we went to New Orleans, and I think we planned on doing an episode down there, but I think the
festivities
got the best of us down there. So I think, what we're going to talk about today, Scotty, is we're going to dive real quickly into the draft. We on Twitter held off on giving some of our opinions for a while because, admittedly, we don't really follow college basketball that often. We think a lot of the mock drafts are pretty stupid, and we think blogs waste a lot of their time on it because 95% of them are wrong after the third pick the whole way through. So I think we need to talk a little bit, Scotty, about the draft selection of P.J. Washington, which was our 15th lottery pick of the last 16 years.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
So backtrack to the explanation about college basketball. I think the reason we don't dive into it too much is very indicative of the last draft.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't one of the worst drafts of the last 10 years, there wasn't really anybody of value outside of the top 3 if you paid much any attention. So we waited until the pick was made, and then over the last 24, 48 hours, have compiled other people's input, watched footage, seen clips of PJ to make our own opinion. And basically what I got, it was a safe pick. He was the best player available. A guy that covered the Kentucky Wildcats for 25 years, put him in the top 5 most NBA-ready players that he's seen in the past 25 years. Yes.
So not MKG, not Monk on that?
No, I'm really shocked those guys didn't make the list of most NBA-ready players. I wouldn't know why.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not exciting. It's not something sexy. It's not something that's going to get Kemba, excited to stay here. I mean, after drafting 3 forwards last night, on the draft night, and then signing another one yesterday, we now officially have 8 forwards on the roster. So
pretty sweet, guys.
I mean, we're going to do
some.
We got to move some of these pieces. Somebody's got to go. But I mean, technically, he's like the only true power forward we have besides Marvin. So I think he gives us a little bit of a leeway when, a little bit of a safety valve when Marvin leaves. I think I'm just a little confused on why Mitch was like, we're going to send all of them to the G League, basically. That didn't give me a warm hug.
And even the guy that covers the Kentucky Wildcats was very open in saying he understood the other picks for PJ. He did not really understand why he would say that because PJ in the draft was one of the more NBA-ready players. He thinks PJ's ready to go and should be in the rotation day 1. I
mean, he reminds me a lot of Miles Bridges. I mean, just, 6'8", 7'2", wingspan. I think that's the major difference in the fact that he has an outside shot. The stretch 4, which is something that if you follow the Hornets, we desperately freaking need. Yeah. So, I mean, he didn't shoot a lot from the 3, but he had a pretty good percentage. And I think if he can get that up, work on that a little bit, he's pretty good in the post. So I guess I'm just trying to look at the bright side of this.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to realize that there really wasn't anything in this draft that was going to get Kemba to stay. If you were going to get Kemba to stay, it was going to be something through a trade or a deal of sending that pick. But the fact that nobody wanted to work with us is very indicative of how the rest of the NBA views our assets outside of Kemba. Nobody really wants to work with anything that we have to offer, which is what we've been saying for a long time. Now the NBA has validated it.
I mean, Mitch hasn't made a trade since last offseason.
Yeah.
And we were one of 6 teams that didn't make a trade in the 2 weeks leading up to the draft. So we're kind of in a depressing mode right now. I mean, Mitch doesn't have a lot of time to make this happen. And he just came out as saying that he didn't want to go into the luxury tax.
Yeah.
So dude's got to get to work here in a really short amount of time if he wants to have the money to keep Kemba. And he wants to have a roster that's going to be, something that keeps Kemba around, like that makes Kemba want to stay. Because you can have the money and everything like that, and I think that's 90% of the battle to keep Kemba.
Yeah.
But I think you also have to give him a roster that gives him hope. I'm not necessarily in the camp that thinks that this pick helped with that much.
No,
I don't think it hurt, but I think
I don't think there was anything at 12 that was going to help or hurt. It didn't.
Yeah.
Hurt could have helped. No. And I think we're going to actually go into more content surrounding the draft pick. We'll get Yeti's opinions on this. He watches way more college basketball than we do.
Yeah.
So make sure you tune in next week to the podcast to get our take on P.J. Washington and what he's going to offer and what's going to be happening with Kemba. But thanks again to our presenting sponsor. Yes, keep Kemba. Thanks again to our presenting sponsor, CBD Charlotte, the NO Brewing Company for sponsoring the podcast, Fitzgerald's for letting us come in here outside of the rain when we were going to host it at the Hive. But thanks again, guys. Make sure you comment below and let us know what you think of the discussion we just had and what you think of the draft.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on PJ Washington, how you feel about the other 3-4s we picked up this week. What are your thoughts on our ability to keep Kemba? And basically, whether or not you feel hopeless, as most Hornets fans do. Thanks, guys.